Perimeter and areas of rectangles. First of all, what is a rectangle? It's a parallelogram, which means the opposite sides are parallel. If it's a parallelogram, that implies it's a quadrilateral. It means there are 4 sides. If it's a quadrilateral, that implies it's a polygon. Polygon is made up of segments. Each segment intersects another segment at its endpoint. A rectangle is special parallelogram because it has 90-degree angles. Some other facts about rectangles is opposite sides have to be the same length. To find the area of a rectangle, you just take base times height. Base is any side, height is perpendicular to it. To find the perimeter of a rectangle, just like any shape, you add up the lengths of all the sides. So we're going to have a B and a B and an H and an H, which means we got 2 B's and 2 H's. Area and perimeter. Question 1, what is the perimeter of this figure? Well, it's a rectangle, so opposite sides are the same. If that's 5, this is 5. This side's 3, this is 3. So the perimeter is going to be 5 and 5, which is 10, 3 and 3, which is 6, 10 and 6 is 16. Number 3, if the diagonal of a square is 5 square roots of 2, what is the area of the square? This question is deep. Let's first draw the square. A square is a rectangle in which all sides are the same length. So we're supposed to draw a diagonal. It says the diagonal of the square, just like this, is 5 square roots of 2. What is the area of the square? To find the area, we have to know the length of the base and the height. Since it's a square, the base and the height are going to be the same value. So if you know anything about special right triangles, which we haven't talked about yet, you would know that each of these are 5. So the area is 5 times 5, which is 25. So let me explain the special right triangles. And this is extremely important that you write this down and that you memorize it. In every 45, 45, 90 right triangle, whatever the length is, opposite the 45s have to be the same. We're just going to call that alpha. Whatever's opposite 90 is whatever's opposite 45 times the square root of 2. This is true in every 45, 45, 90 right triangle. So how does that relate to this problem? Well, if the diagonal is 5 square roots of 2, in our special right triangle, it's alpha square roots of 2. That means that 5 has to be alpha, which then means that these two sides are also alpha. How do we know this is a 45, 45, 90? Well, once again, there's lots of facts about geometry that one would need to know for the ACT. If the angles are 90 degrees in this square, this diagonal will always cut that in half, which makes each of those 45. That's true in any rhombus. A rhombus means it has 4 sides and all sides are the same length. Alright, let's move on here. I'll tell you what, let me tell you another way to do this problem. So you don't remember special right triangles. And let's just backtrack a little bit. So we have this picture, we get 5 square roots of 2. We don't know what these are, but we know they're the same. You could use the Pythagorean Theorem to figure out what those are. X squared plus x squared equals 5 square roots of 2 squared. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared. 5 square roots of 2 squared, you square the 5 and you square the square root of 2, you're going to get 25 times 2. If you divide both sides by 2, you get x squared is 25. Therefore, x is going to be a positive 5. And then from there you find the area as base times height. Alright, number 4. A painter is hired to paint a room that has 2 rectangular walls that measures 8 feet by 12 feet. A third rectangular wall measures 8 by 10, and a fourth measuring 8 by 4. There's no windows, and the door will be painted too. How convenient. If the painter charges $1.50 per square foot, how much will the job cost? So there's two parts to this problem. We need to find the total area, and then we need to find the total cost. To find the total area, we need to find the area of each room. There's two rectangular, the area of each wall, just one room. Two of the walls are 8 by 12. So the area of, let's say, wall 1 is going to be 8 times 12. The area of wall 2 is also 8 times 12. Then it says the third wall is 8 by 10. So the area of wall 3 is 8 by 10. The final wall is 8 by 4. It's a weird room. So to find the total area, we're going to add all those together. 8 times 12 is 96, 8 times 12 is 96, 8 times 10 is 80, 8 times 4 is 32. If you add those together to get the total area of total, you're going to get 304 square feet. Doesn't answer the question. Notice that's one of the answers. If a problem is multiple steps, they like to put one of the intermediate steps as an answer. ACT is a horrible thing for jerks. The jerk squad made it. The painter charges $1.50 per square foot. So the cost is going to be the dollars per square foot times how many square feet. That's going to end up being $456. Dunsies. Number 5. In the figure below, the rectangle ABCD has an area of 15. What is the length of the diagonal? This is also a two-part question. To figure out the length of the diagonal, you got to first find the length of BC. We'll call that X. Once we find that, then we're going to find the length of AC. We'll call that R. Actually, let's call this BCY. So, area of a rectangle, base times height. Base, we'll say, is 6. Our height, we don't know. We do know our area, it's 15. If you divide both sides by 6, you're going to get that y is 3.5. Scratch that. 2.5. Notice, actually don't notice. Alright, so we know that y is 2.5. We're supposed to find the length of the diagonal. Since this is a rectangle, this is actually a right triangle. Find the hypotenuse, where you take a side squared, well, a leg squared, plus another leg squared, that equals the hypotenuse squared. 6 squared is 36. 2.5 squared is 6.25. If you add those together, you get 42.25. And if you square root that, you're going to get 6.5. I'm just checking in a calculator. That's right. Yep. Now, as far as the answers go on this paper, we know that F couldn't be the answer and that G couldn't be the answer right away. And the reason we know that is because the hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle. And since one side is 6, the answer has to be bigger than that. So if you were just guessing for this problem, you would at least know that you have 1 out of 3 choices.